Imagine you're a kid from the Bronx. Your dad paints houses. You don't own a bicycle. You grow up watching life through a fire escape. That same kid sells neckties out of a drawer in the Empire State Building, builds a fashion empire worth billions, and quietly assembles a private garage that experts say is worth close to $1 billion, filled with machines so rare that governments have tried to buy them. And one car in that garage, the one we're revealing at the end of this video, is estimated to be worth over $150 million and could shatter every auction record ever set the moment it crosses a podium. That's the man. That's Ralph Lauren. And that's where we're going today. Stick around to the end for that #1 reveal because you genuinely are not ready for it. His name at birth was Ralph Reuben Lifshitz, son of Russian Jewish immigrants. Grew up in the Bronx with nothing. Sold neckties out of a cramped rental space in 1967 and within 4 years was on Rodeo Drive. But running parallel to the fashion empire, quiet and obsessive and almost completely hidden, was a love affair with cars that has been building since the early 1970s. Over 70 cars, stored in a climate-controlled facility in Westchester County, New York, that almost nobody outside his inner circle has ever been inside. Valued between $600 million and close to $1 billion. Lauren put it best himself, "I've always seen cars as art. Moving art." That one line tells you everything about why this garage is different from every other billionaire's car collection on Earth. If you're new here, subscribe right now. This is what we do every single week, deep dives into the most extraordinary cars and the stories behind them. Hit subscribe, hit the bell, and let's get into it. Number 10. The 1930 Mercedes-Benz Count Trossi. This car was designed by Ferdinand Porsche. Yes, that Porsche, for Mercedes in the late 1920s. Fewer than 40 SSKs were ever built, but this specific chassis is unlike any other one in existence. In 1933, it was purchased by Count Felice Trossi, an Italian racing driver who immediately stripped the original body and had it replaced with a custom design so dramatic and so sinister that people started calling it the Black Prince. Long black hood, impossibly low stance, a silhouette that looks like something a supervillain commissions. Under the hood, a supercharged 7, 1-liter inline-6 making nearly 300 horsepower. In 1930. Top speed of 120 miles per hour, which made it the fastest road car on the planet at that time. Only 4 or 5 original SSK examples survive today. Lauren owns one. It has never been for public sale during his ownership, and there's no indication that will ever change. This is not a car. It's an artifact that happens to have an engine. Number 9. The 1929 Bentley 4.5-liter blower. If you know James Bond, not the movies, the original Ian Fleming novels, you know this car. Fleming chose the Bentley blower as 007's personal vehicle because nothing else at the time carried the same combination of brute British power and aristocratic menace. The supercharger mounted at the front of the engine gave the car its nickname and gave drivers an experience that was reportedly somewhere between thrilling and terrifying. Lauren's example isn't just any blower Bentley. It's an original Le Mans race car that actually competed in the 24 hours in 1930, 1932, and 1933. This car sat on that grid. It has the history and its chassis. Original racing blower Bentleys have sold for north of $10 million at auction. Lauren's specific race entered example sits at the top of that range, and he is not selling. If these cars interest you, subscribe right now. Show us your passion. That's the only way to tell us. Number 8. The 1955 Porsche 550 Spyder. Only 90 were ever built. Mid-engined, air-cooled 4-cylinder. A body so light it seemed to float. Porsche entered this car at the Nürburgring in May of 1953, first race it ever competed in, and it won immediately. The car was untouchable on track for years. But the 550 Spyder carries a shadow. This is the same model, not the same car. the same model that killed James Dean on September 30th, 1955. Dean was 24. He called his silver Spider little bastard. A Ford Tudor pulled into his path on a California highway, and that was it. One of the greatest actors of his generation, gone. In a machine nearly identical to the one sitting in Ralph Lauren's garage right now. Two lives live in that car. The winner's circle and the tragedy. Lauren kept it anyway. That says something. Number 7. The 1938 Alfa Romeo 8C 2900B Mille Miglia. Widely considered by automotive historians to be the greatest pre-war sports car ever built, the Mille Miglia version was built specifically for Italy's legendary open road race, 1,000 miles of public Italian roads at full racing speed. The twin supercharged straight-8 engine produced around 180 horsepower in 1938. The bodywork was hand-formed aluminum, shaped by craftsmen using techniques that no longer exist, tools that are no longer made, skills that have not been passed down. Lauren's car competed in the actual race. It has the provenance. It has the documentation. Comparable examples have sold for over $6 million at auction, and this specific racing history example sits well above that. Lauren acquired it in the 1980s when he was starting to build what would eventually be recognized as one of the most significant private collections ever assembled. Number 6. The 1957 Jaguar XKSS. Here is one of the great tragic stories in automotive history. Jaguar's D-Type race car won Le Mans 3 consecutive years, 1955, 1956, and 1957. When the racing program ended, Jaguar planned to convert 25 of the remaining D-Types into road-legal versions called the XKSS. The first one left the Browns Lane factory in Coventry on January 18, 1957. 25 days later, the factory burned down. 11 of the remaining cars were destroyed. The tooling was destroyed. A planned run of 25 became 16 overnight. Of those 16, Lauren's XKSS is one of only 2 in the world that still carries its original XKD chassis number, meaning his car was converted directly from an actual Le Mans race car. A Le Mans winner's Dana in a street car's body. A comparable XKSS recently carried an auction estimate of over $14 million. Lauren's, with the original race chassis, is arguably worth more. He has owned it for decades. It has never been for sale. Right here is where we pause, because the top 5 are where your brain starts doing things. If you've made it this far and you're the kind of person who actually wants to understand these cars, subscribe right now. Hit the bell. This is the channel. Every week, let's finish this. Number 5. The 1962 Ferrari 250 Ghetto. Ferrari built 36 of them. 36. Between 1962 and 1964, 36 cars. The Ghetto Gran Turismo Omologato was a race car Ferrari wrapped in road-legal clothing to satisfy FIA homologation rules, and in doing so they accidentally created what is now considered the most desirable collector car in the world. 3.0-liter V12. 300 horsepower, 0 to 60 in 6.1 seconds, 174 miles per hour top speed in 1962. It won at Le Mans, at Daytona, at the Tour de France Automobile. It was untouchable for years. In 2018, one sold privately for a reported $70 million. In 2023, another crossed the auction block at over $51 million. Learn's specific example, Chassis 3987 GT, has documented racing history at Le Mans. Estimates now put it between $50 and $80 million. He is not selling. Collectors have approached him. The answer has been no every time. Some things aren't for sale, no matter what number you write down. Number 4. And this is where people lose it a little, because Ralph Lauren doesn't own one McLaren F1. He owns 3. When the McLaren F1 launched in 1992, it was the most advanced road car ever built. Carbon fiber chassis. BMW V12 producing 618 horsepower. Center driving position with the driver seated in the middle and passengers on either side. The engine bay lined with gold, actual gold, Because gold is the most efficient heat reflector known to engineering. 0 to 60 in 3.2 seconds. Top speed of 240.1 miles per hour. A world record that held for years. Only 106 were built. Lauren owns 3 of them. But one of his 3 is different. One is a McLaren F1 LM. McLaren built exactly 5 of these as a tribute to the F1 Guitra that won Le Mans in 1995. 5 total in existence. 3 belong to the Sultan of Brunei. 1 lives in a Japanese museum. Lauren has the 5th. It's orange. It makes somewhere above 668 horsepower. McLaren said more than because they couldn't precisely measure the output. Current estimates for a McLaren F1 LM sit between $20 and $25 million. Lauren once described driving it as feeling like a hovercraft, like he wasn't touching the ground at all. You own something that makes you feel like that, you don't sell it. Number 3. The 1958 Ferrari 250 Testa Rossa. The name means red head in Italian, from the red-painted cam covers on the engine. Ferrari built this car to do one thing: win endurance races. It did. Le Mans 1958, 1960, and 1961. Sebring, Nürburgring, the World Sports Car Championship. It didn't win occasionally. It dominated for years and then kept dominating. Lauren's Testa Rossa is one of the most photographed cars in his collection. A comparable example sold at auction in 2011 for over $16 million. The market has moved significantly since. His car today sits in the $20 to $30 million range. And he drives it. Lauren's rule for his entire collection is that every car must be maintained in running condition. To him, a car that can't move is just an expensive sculpture. The Testa Rossa moves. Number 2. And before I tell you what this is, let me tell you something that still doesn't get talked about enough. In 2011, 17 cars from Lauren's collection were exhibited at the Musée des Arts Décoratifs in Paris, attached to the Louvre. French art critics wrote about these cars the same way they write about paintings. People who had never cared about cars stood in front of machines under museum lighting and couldn't explain why they couldn't stop looking. That doesn't happen because someone has money. That happens because of what was chosen. And what was chosen points directly to number 1. But first, Ralph Lauren started all of this with a used British Morgan he eventually had to sell because he couldn't afford the repair bills. His first new car was a 1971 Mercedes-Benz 280 SE 3.5 Cabriolet. The dealer recommended a different color. Lauren refused. He'd had the exact configuration in his head before he could afford it. Tan roof, tan leather seats, a classic 1930s aesthetic. That's the whole story of this man in one moment. He doesn't take suggestions about taste. He had his vision before he had the means. And then he built the means. A kid from the Bronx who grew up without a bicycle. Now owns the most valuable private car collection in America. Number 1. The 1938 Bugatti Type 57 SC Atlantic. Say the name. Bugatti Type 57 SC. Atlantic 1938, Jean Bugatti, son of founder Ettore, the designer who created this car, built 4 of them between 1936 and 1938. One of the 4, called La Voiture Noire, disappeared during World War II and has never been found. 1 is in a museum. Ralph Lauren owns one of the 2 that remain in private hands. The body is teardrop-shaped aluminum. The seam running along the roofline and down the spine of the car is riveted, not welded, riveted, because the specific aluminum alloy Bugatti used was too exotic to weld with the technology of that era. Those rivets became the car's signature. Every Bugatti designer who has worked since has referenced them. The shape looks like nothing before it and nothing since. It is the definition of the word timeless in automotive design. Supercharged 3.3-liter straight-8 engine. Top speed of 123 miles per hour. In 1938, that was a number that made people question whether they'd heard correctly. When the Schlumpf Atlantic was valued as part of a 2010 collection assessment, the number came back at $30 to $40 million. The market for pre-war masterpieces has moved enormously since then. Experts today estimate Lawrence Atlantic at over $100 million. Some say 150. If it ever went to public auction, it would break the all-time record set in 2022 when a Mercedes-Benz 300 Slur Uhlenhaut sold for $143 million. It would be the most expensive car ever sold. And Ralph Lauren is not selling. He has loaned it to exhibitions. He has allowed it to be studied and photographed. But it stays. Because to him, it's not an asset. It's the greatest piece of moving art that he's ever had the privilege of owning. A Bronx kid who couldn't afford a bicycle owns the most valuable car on the planet. That's what taste, plus discipline, plus decades of refusing to accept other people's limits actually looks like when it compounds. Comment below right now. One car. Your impossible car. The one that lives on your personal list. The poster on the wall. The one that still does something to you when you see it on the street. Tell me down there. I want to know. And if this video made you feel something, maybe it reminded you of something you've been putting off, or a dream you've been calling unrealistic, let that sit for a minute. Because Ralph Lauren felt that too. He just didn't let it stop him. Subscribe if you haven't. Ring the bell. We drop one of these every single week, and the next one goes inside a collection that puts even this garage in a different light. You're not going to want to miss it. See you there.